Hello, and welcome to the official Wrestling News 365 YouTube channel. Thank you very, very much for joining us here today. This is your WWE Friday Night Smackdown review for the November 22, 2019 edition of WWE Smackdown, the Survivor Series Go Home show. This week, Friday Night Smackdown emanated from Chicago, Illinois, in the All-State Arena for yet another live episode on Fox. So, to give you a little structure to this breakdown, what we'll do is we'll break down every segment of the show. I'll give you my thoughts on last night's proceedings. But what did you, our great followers, think of tonight's episode? At the end of every episode of Friday Night Smackdown, we send out a post on our official Twitter account at 365Wrestle. Make sure you go and follow that account at 365Wrestle. Going to be a lot of content coming out there over this Survivor Series and NXT TakeOver War Games weekend. The tweet we send out, we ask our followers to describe SmackDown in 3 words. And at the end of our reviews, we take a look at some of the responses, pick out some of my favourites, both positive and negative. Don't like anyone to say that Wrestle News 365 is biased in any way. And we check out your opinions on the show. So make sure you respond to that tweet and see if you made the list, as Chris Jericho would say. So, on to last night's show. We open with the SmackDown roster backstage. We have a bit of a weird shot, actually, to start it off. You see them backstage, I'm assuming by a door, or what is the equivalent to a door at the All-State Arena. And you have a shot of Big E doing a limbo in a SmackDown shirt with the nipples cut out. Yep, that's a real sentence. I'm sure Fox is loving that sports-centric feel that SmackDown is offering them with that. We then see Baron Corbin, or King Corbin, Dolph Ziggler, Robert Roode trying to get the roster's attention. They continue talking. They just completely ignore the jabron wearing the crown, because why wouldn't you? Instead, Roman Reigns with Shorty G, that's the last time I'm going to say actually refer to him by that name, and Mustafa Ali go up onto the podium, and everyone shushes and gets the roster's attention immediately, because Reigns commands attention, remember, pal. Reigns says that we saw what happened this week. Raw and SmackDown is coming tonight, we know that, and we're not going to act like cowards, like King Corbin would. He says, tonight we open the door, we let them in, and tonight we whoop everyone's ass. King Corbin then calls this the stupidest idea he's ever heard. Obviously, he hasn't watched the segment back last week with the guy in the dog suit, but we'll leave that one there. Sasha Banks then interrupts, and she says the SmackDown's women's roster is going to take care of business here tonight, right now. She's then followed by the Women's Survivor Series SmackDown team, which includes Carmella, Dana Brooke, Lacey Evans, Nikki Cross, and obviously the boss herself. Sasha Banks then leads the SmackDown team to the ring, and she says that this is our show and our ring. She says that nobody is going to jump them from behind, and that NXT doesn't have the guts to show up after the SmackDown team attacked them last week. She says she also knows that Raw is here tonight, so why doesn't Raw come out right now? This, of course, then brings out Team Raw, which is led by Charlotte Flair, Natalya, Sarah Logan, Asuka, and Kairi Sane. Charlotte says, thank you very much for opening the door, but Raw would have kicked it down anyways. I'm pretty sure everyone was booked on the show, and there was no need to kick any doors down at the All-State Arena. WWE doesn't need to pay any more fines. She anyway challenges Sasha Banks to a one-on-one match. Just for old time's sake, she says. Just for old time's sake, let's have a one-on-one match. The crowd loves that. However, this brings out Team NXT to a big pop. I say Team NXT. We don't actually know who the participants are going to be for Team NXT in both the male and female Survivor Series tag team match. It's always nice to go into a pay-per-view with a little question mark above a certain match. So I'm happy with that. I don't think we know everything we're going to see Sunday. That's not a bad thing. Speaking of NXT, out comes Rhea Ripley, along with Tegan Nox, Mia Yim, and Toni Storm is also there. We haven't seen Toni Storm in a while. She is going to be on NXT UK TV soon, but I think the assumption that she was going to be moving to NXT over there in the States. But it was nice to see Toni Storm here, along with Candice LeRae making up the Team NXT that comes out. There are loud NXT chants in the All-State Arena, obviously the brand which Chicago likes the best. Rhea says that NXT does have guts, and then she challenges Sasha Banks and Charlotte Flair to make it captain versus captain versus captain. All 3 teams, or 3 brands, then brawl in the ring, and there's chaos as we go to commercial. Now, that's actually a good cliffhanger. Obviously, I was complaining Monday night about the shitty cliffhangers on Monday Night Raw, but this was a good cliffhanger. However, it wouldn't be the only cliffhanger they did tonight. They would do a very bad cliffhanger later on, which we'll get into. But back from commercial and order is resumed. We have Rhea Ripley versus Charlotte Flair versus Sasha Banks. Team captains facing off. The match begins once we're back from commercial. We see Ripley face off with Charlotte Flair. A match I didn't know, to be honest, that I needed to see until they faced off on Smackdown. Talk about a feud for the future right there. The matches between those two could be absolutely awesome. Rhea Ripley obviously is being positioned as the NXT star. And the women's division anyway, behind Shayna Baszler. But then Shayna Baszler and Rhea Ripley are going to be facing off inside War Games, Saturday night NXT TakeOver War Games. So that says a lot about what the NXT management thinks of both Rhea Ripley and Shayna Baszler in NXT. There's a stiff kick to the face of Charlotte by Rhea Ripley, but it's followed up by a nice big boot from the Queen. Sasha Banks then sneaks back into the ring and hits a backstabber on Rhea Ripley for a 2 count. It was nice to see Rhea Ripley get singles action against both of the main roster established stars, because as the match started, Rhea Ripley had the little exchange there with Charlotte Flair. But once Charlotte Flair was out of action, she had the little exchange with Sasha Banks. It was really giving Rhea the spotlight to showcase her skills. And to be honest, she didn't look out of place in the slightest, which says a lot about her talent. I mean, she's still incredibly young. I think she's, 22, 23? And like I said, she doesn't look out of place at all. So she really is a future star for WWE right there. We also have a spot where Charlotte Flair throws Sasha Banks into Nikki Cross at ringside. This then plays up the tension between the two, Sasha Banks and Nikki Cross, that we've seen in recent weeks with their feud/rivalry. This then leads Charlotte Flair to hit a moonsault from the top rope to both Rhea Ripley and Sasha Banks on the outside of the ring. Now, I am one of the few that agrees that I think this is the worst moonsault in the WWE by far, in my opinion. It's not because it's a bad moonsault in terms of its execution. If anything, it's on the other end of the spectrum. It's too well formed. She consistently lands on her feet and she barely touches her opponent. I mean, isn't the aim, I hate to sound like, the old timers, but isn't the aim of a moonsault to wipe out your opponents? Not stick a perfect landing on your feet. If this was a shoot, and if it was a shoot, why you would do a move like a moonsault, I have no idea. Okay, but still, is this professional wrestling? Let's suspend our disbelief for a second. But if you do a moonsault, isn't the idea to wipe out your opponents? It's not to barely graze them and then land on your feet and then pose to the crowd. No. Stop doing the moonsault, especially when other people can do it better than you. And obviously, I know Charlotte has a gymnastics background, and I think, if anything, it comes in a bit too handy there for Charlotte, because she'll land on her feet every time, but she barely touches her opponent. It doesn't make any sense. Anyway, back in the ring, Sasha Banks hits a Meteora on Rhea Ripley, but then Charlotte then hits a natural selection on the boss. Rhea Ripley then breaks up the pinfall at a 2 count. Charlotte appears at this point to have like a bloody lip or nose or something like that. Now, I think that was from a turnbuckle spot earlier in the match. I believe Rhea Ripley either did a drop toe hold or moved out the way, and Charlotte just absolutely nailed her face on the turnbuckle. It looked pretty brutal. But then I guess Charlotte was coming in with too much momentum there. So then what does she get for it? She gets a bloody nose or a bloody lip. It added to the match though. So I think it's fine, and obviously she's not going to be out on Sunday or anything silly like that. Charlotte then hits the natural selection on Rhea Ripley, but Rhea Ripley rolls out. I say rolls out, she practically ran out of the ring. I'm not sure there was a complete sow of the move there. But then we see Charlotte Flair lock in the figure 8 onto Sasha Banks. However, this was the finish of the match, and it was a really creative finish. I really enjoyed this finish. Once Charlotte actually bridged into the figure 8, Rhea Ripley then sort of sneaks into the ring and locks in a crucifix pinfall on Charlotte. Now, why would you say, why wouldn't Charlotte just kick out? She's in the figure 8, she's in a move, she's in a dominant position. Charlotte Flair's legs are actually tied with Sasha Banks' leg in the figure, what would be the figure 4 submission. Therefore, she can't get out of the pinfall attempt because her legs are locked, and her shoulders are down because of the crucifix attempt. Therefore, Rhea gets the 3 count and the victory. To the shock of some, but I think it was the correct decision. Post-match, we have Team Raw and Smackdown brawl in the ring, and that ends the segment there. But I thought it was a really enjoyable match. Short, but I think the aim of the match was to showcase Rhea Ripley. And that was resoundingly accomplished. Ripley got in some terrific offense in some both hugely established stars when you think about Flair and Sasha Banks. Obviously, Flair was part of the main event at WrestleMania this year, and Rhea Ripley's just pinned her in what would be her second match on SmackDown, her third match on SmackDown, maybe. So that says a lot. And she got in some great offense against Sasha Banks, who's great in the ring anyway. And like I said, the outcome may have been a surprising one, but it was the right one. I mean, think about it. If you're going to build NXT as a credible threat this Sunday, you need to have them win all the matches over the Raw and SmackDown stars. We've seen the same with Adam Cole recently. And why does NXT need to win so badly? It's very simple. If you think of not the hardcore fans, and I know quite the majority of the viewers of this video and the viewers of our Twitter stream and social media streams will be quite hardcore fans. But if you think of this from the perspective of a casual fan, everyone started out as a casual fan. The casual fan may still consider NXT to be the developmental minor leagues. And they won't think of NXT as that full-fledged third brand like WWE has been promoting ever since they moved to the USA Network. Therefore, with the likes of Rhea Ripley defeating former champions such as Charlotte Flair and Sasha Banks, and having Adam Cole defeat Daniel Bryan and go to toe-to-toe with Seth Rollins, who is the WWE's guy in the casual fan's eyes, who doesn't know the inner workings of the WWE so well, you think Seth Rollins is unbeatable. But if Adam Cole goes toe-to-toe with him and Seth Rollins can't defeat Adam Cole, the casual fan might think for a second. They might stop and they'll go, wait a minute, these NXT guys are pretty damn good. And if they're pretty damn good, then they might have a chance this Sunday against Raw and SmackDown. AKA, it builds the stakes for this Sunday as NXT as a credible threat. Backstage, we then see King Corbin, Dolph Ziggler, and Robert Roode. They talk about Roman Reigns' decision to leave the door open tonight. They discuss their strategy for tonight and say that when Raw and NXT arrive, they'll just leave NXT and Raw to attack and pick up the remains of Roman Reigns, Chad Gable, they didn't say Chad Gable, but I'm not saying that name, and Mustafa Ali. This then leads Sami Zayn to interrupt, holding a black bag. He says, "What's in the bag? What's in the bag? Can you guess what's in the bag?" Spoiler, we will find out very shortly what's in the bag, and if you've seen anything on social media, you know exactly what's in the bag by now. King Corbin then calls Sami Zayn annoying. Sami then says, "Say it to my face in the ring." Now, I didn't really understand this. I guess this was just a link to the next segment, but I mean, there was no payoff with Sami Zayn and King Corbin there. So I don't really know why they had the interaction. They said the only thing I can assume is that it linked to the next segment nicely. As a tease to find out what's in the bag when they went to commercial. I'm guessing. Otherwise, it's just, nonsensical. But we'll move on. We won't pick holes in that one too much. We then have Sami Zayn coming out with the mystery black bag, who is quickly followed by Intercontinental Champion himself, Shinsuke Nakamura. And then we go to commercial. As we come back from commercial, we have Kayla Braxton backstage with the SmackDown Women's Champion Bayley. Bayley says she's prepared if Becky Lynch or NXT Women's Champion Shayna Baszler show up tonight. She talks about being the only Grand Slam champion in the WWE, so that means she's the only woman in WWE to win the Raw Women's Championship, the SmackDown Women's Championship, the Women's Tag Team Championship. Obviously, she's actually won the Women's Money in the Bank as well, and the NXT Women's Championship. So she has literally won everything there is to win as a woman in WWE. Talk about accolades for someone like Bayley. She then says if Shayna Baszler is finished hiding in the shadows, she's here and ready, and calls her out for tonight. Which then leads to having Sami Zayn and Shinsuke Nakamura back in the ring. If Sami says if there's one word to describe himself, it would not be annoying. It would be stud. I guess this is typical McMahon humour here. He then calls Shinsuke Nakamura an even bigger stud. And he says, as a thank you to Shinsuke Nakamura, he's got him something. He then opens the black bag to reveal the brand new Intercontinental Championship. And I must say, it's a pretty damn nice looking bout too. And thank God, before we move on, can we just say, thank God it isn't another just WWE logo or something with another coloured leather strap. At least it's an actual bout with a different design. I like it. I don't know if there was any real need to change the WWE Intercontinental Championship. The championship itself, when it was brought back, was a throwback to the old Intercontinental Championship or the classic Intercontinental Championship, however you want to refer to it as. But I don't know if it really needed a facelift, but we got one, and it's not bad, considering what WWE has done with championships recently. Think of when they revealed the Universal Championship. Think of when they revealed the disaster piece that is the 24/7 Championship. At least they've done well here. But it would appear that the last remnants of Cody Rhodes are now gone from the WWE, considering he did introduce the classic, or reintroduce, shall we say, the Intercontinental Championship, but now that's gone. Now, some of the people, the conspiracy theorists out there on social media will say this is a jab at Cody Rhodes. I doubt it. I would assume that this has probably been in the works for a while, and then reintroducing a new Intercontinental Championship is mainly just for merchandising reasons. These bouts sell quite a lot as replicas and as toys. A new bout means more people are going to buy the new bout. It's very simple as that. Now, it does have similarities, I would say, to the 24/7 Championship in terms of the round face. WWE loves a round face on their championships nowadays. Look at the Penny Tag Team titles. But I think it's nice. And I think, nice is good for WWE. Considering they can do a lot worse, nice is good. Sami Zayn then talks about the triple threat match at Survivor Series. He says, and he talks about how he doesn't know the name of Roderick Strong. Obviously, he does know the name of Roderick Strong. It's made in jest, I guess. Okay, the crowd wasn't having any of it. He asked Shinsuke Nakamura if he knows the name of one of his opponents that isn't AJ Styles this Sunday. And Shinsuke Nakamura says he's also drawing a blank. This, of course, brings out the Undisputed Era. Sami Zayn and Shinsuke Nakamura then leave the ring and back up the ramp. Adam Cole says his name is Adam Cole, baby. Of course, loud response from the crowd there. He then puts over Roderick Strong and then talks about NXT wiping the floor with Raw and Smackdown at Survivor Series. This then brings out the Smackdown Tag Team Champions, The New Day. Obviously, Kofi Kingston and Big E. Xavier Woods is still at home recuperating and will be for the foreseeable future with his Achilles tendon injury. They can be out for as long as a year, so there won't be any Xavier Woods anytime soon. Kofi challenges the Undisputed Era to a match right now. The Undisputed Era say, sure, 4-on-2, absolutely. We'll welcome you in the ring right now. The New Day say, no. They found some partners, which are revealed to be Heavy Machinery, to face all 4 members of the Undisputed Era in a match right now. The match starts with Big E hitting a big splash to Bobby Fish on the apron, followed by a belly-to-belly to Kyle O'Reilly on the outside. For the majority of the match, this would be the theme for the majority of the match. The Undisputed Era then work over Kofi Kingston, keeping the former WWE Champion in their corner and making quick and frequent tags as they work over Kofi Kingston. Roderick Strong drop kicks Kofi Kingston off the top rope and onto Tucker of Heavy Machinery on the outside. Then this was a bit of a strange spot. I didn't really understand this. Otis then goes to the outside to pull Kofi off of Tucker, which then obviously for some reason really angered Big E. So he goes over to Otis and confronts him for some reason. Didn't really understand the logic of that one. Otis, I guess, would be looking after his teammate and pulls Kofi off, and Big E's like, how dare you pull Tucker off of Kofi? I think don't dive too deep in the logic of that one. You'll get lost in the forest there. Heavy Machinery didn't actually get a tag in this match for the longest time as well. But eventually, when Kofi does make the hot tag to Otis, Otis is like a man on fire against the Undisputed Era, wiping out every member of the Undisputed Era. The crowd was so into Otis as well. I mean, I say this every week on social media, but Otis is he's so much fun, and he's genuinely funny, and not wrestling funny, not Vince McMahon ha-ha funny, isn't that funny, no one laughs funny, so it shouldn't be that goes into meltdown funny, but actually funny, can actually get a crowd to laugh. Otis then goes for the caterpillar on Adam Cole, but he's pulled from the ring and the crowd is fired up after that hot tag. So Otis did a great job in firing up the crowd, and he always does. To be honest, he always does. They then have a spot which Tucker goes to the top rope and hits a perfect moonsault, but the pin is broken up. And honestly, I can't overstate how impressive that is. I mean, Tucker's like 6'5", 260-something pounds, maybe 270 pounds. So, I mean, it's just phenomenal that he can hit such a good moonsault. Obviously, the most impressive big man to ever hit a moonsault is Vader, hitting the Vader salt. But, I mean, this can't be far off. I mean, someone being that big, both in height and weight, and he nailed the moonsault. He couldn't have nailed it any better. And I've never seen him do that before. I'm assuming he must have done it in NXT at least a couple of times. Or maybe we haven't seen it before. Maybe it's something new from Tucker. Anyway, super impressive spot. So well done to him. Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly then hit a total elimination. That's what I'm calling it. The announcers don't have a word for it, but it's total elimination, like it was in ECW. To Big E on the outside of the ring, followed by another total elimination to Kofi Kingston 2 on the outside. In the ring, it actually eventually hits the Caterpillar on Kyle O'Reilly to a big pop. The crowd absolutely loves it. But then Roderick Strong hits a running knee on Tucker after a super kick by NXT champion Adam Cole for the victory. So that would be in the first 2 matches of the show. We have 2 victories for NXT, which, like I said, is exactly what is needed to elevate NXT as a credible threat this Sunday to Raw and SmackDown at Survivor Series. Now, the next step is to actually have them win a match on Sunday, or matches, plural, not just one, matches on Sunday. I mean, there's no other choice, really, if you think about it. They have to win on Sunday to pay any of this dominance that they've had on WWE TV off. It's all well and good them having this great showcase recently on Raw and SmackDown and beating main roster stars. What's it for? I mean, what's it for if Sunday they lose every single match? What's it for? And they'll go, oh, maybe Adam Cole, yeah, he won on Sunday, but that's an NXT match. At least, I know, one of the tag team elimination matches they have to win. And then one of the interbrand matches, maybe the mid-card title triple threat match, or I think Shayna Baszler, we'll go into this a bit later, but I think she's a dark horse for the women's triple threat match. I would say NXT needs at least 2 big victories on Sunday. But that's not to bury Raw and SmackDown. Raw and SmackDown, they'll be fine. It doesn't really matter, let's be honest, what they do Sunday. I mean, was it last year? SmackDown didn't win a single match at Survivor Series. And I'm sure they're doing just fine on Fox right now. Well, I say they are. Let's wait till the ratings come in. Anyway, post-match, Roderick Strong goes up the ramp to confront Shinsuke Nakamura, who's been watching the match all the way up the ramp. But then suddenly AJ Styles, the United States champion from Raw, appears from nowhere, attacking Nakamura and Roderick Strong. But then Sami Zayn, the great liberator of Shinsuke Nakamura, attacks AJ Styles and Nakamura with a steel chair. The Undisputed Era then make the save and chase off Sami Zayn and Nakamura. So a nice way to keep the heat for the mid-card triple threat match this Sunday, and also play up that Sami Zayn could be playing a big influence in that match, so keep your eye on Sami Zayn on Sunday. We then have a promo after the commercial break by AJ Styles and the OC. He calls Chicago the most depressing city in the world, and he calls himself the best thing in Chicago right now, which of course leads to CM Punk chants from the Chicago crowd. I would be stunned if the WWE writers didn't think of that when they were writing it. If not, they are dumber than they even get credit for from their critics online. If you call yourself anything the best in Chicago, you're going to get a CM Punk chant. Styles responds to this well, though. He says he would mop the floor with him without referring to him by name. He also says that he's coming for Sami Zayn and tells Roderick Strong to enjoy his 15 seconds of fame. This then brings out Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan here was not wearing a SmackDown shirt like the rest of the SmackDown roster you would have seen tonight, which I thought was a nice touch. I mean, realistically, if you think about it, not to shit on the whole Survivor Series concept itself, but, why is there any brand loyalty to any superstar in WWE? I understand the NXT part of it. You've come through developmental, you've been at the Performance Center, NXT gave you your big break, but the main roster stars of Raw and SmackDown, you get changed seemingly every few months what brand you're on. And if you're some superstars, whatever brand you're on doesn't mean you're going to be on TV all the time. So why would you be loyal to that brand at all? And let's be honest, the majority of the WWE roster right now, main roster or NXT, have at some point gone through NXT. So you would all be loyal to NXT itself. I don't know. Let's not think of logic too much with WWE. It can tend to give you a headache. We then get Daniel Bryan chants from the crowd. We recap Miz TV last week with Daniel Bryan accepting Bray Wyatt's challenge for Survivor Series and the Universal Championship match. Bryan said he didn't come out here to chant yes. He didn't lecture about climate change. He came out here to summon Bray Wyatt. He calls Wyatt out to clear the air, reminisce about the past, or fight right now if they want to. I like that they're touching on the previous history between Daniel Bryan and Bray Wyatt. One of my favourite, more modern moments, I say modern, it was in, 2014, so that's 5 years ago, but modern WWE moments, was the Daniel Bryan turn on Bray Wyatt on Monday Night Raw inside the steel cage. Go back and watch that clip. We've posted it a few times on Twitter recently. You watch that clip, you see the crowd all chanting yes, it will give you goosebumps. How over Daniel Bryan was at that moment, it's criminal to consider that they weren't even considering him for the main event at WrestleMania at that point. The reaction from the crowd is insane. And it was a nice moment, so it's nice that they're hinting at it, with Bray Wyatt hinting that maybe the Fiend is attacking Bryan to make peace for previous sins in the past. So Bryan challenges Bray Wyatt to come out, but the lights go out, everyone cheers, but then the lights come back on and nobody's there. Loud boos from the crowd, good heat. Daniel Bryan then calls this mind games from Bray Wyatt. He once again challenges Bray Wyatt to come out and fight, but Bray Wyatt does not come out, the Miz does. Daniel Bryan says this is the one worst thing that the Fiend is being the Miz. Miz says last week he had to bite his tongue, he was being professional on his own show, Miz TV. Daniel Bryan says he doesn't care and he doesn't like The Miz. And then The Miz says he can't wait to see The Fiend take Daniel Bryan apart at Survivor Series. To which The Miz then slaps Daniel Bryan's. And then we go to commercial. Oh. I mean, I mentioned this on Monday. But I mean, come on. Stupid cliffhanger alert. So what? So nothing happens? You slap someone? I mean, the most WWE response to a slap is usually a right hand followed by a pull-apart brawl, is it not? So they slaps him, and then what are we just going to assume that, we're off the air now? Because this is scripted, this is a show, it isn't believable, it's bullshit. The only thing I did love, regardless of that, let's just move that aside, the thing I did love was that despite either being a babyface or a heel, or both Daniel Bryan and The Miz both being heels or both being baby faces, they just hate each other. And at least they keep that storyline going, and there's some form of continuity in the WWE. All the way back from when they started this feud with The Miz being Daniel Bryan's pro on NXT in 2010. Until now, they hate each other. End of. And that's real. That's real. Obviously, they don't hate each other backstage, but that's real in the sense of if this was real life, you know, you see it all the time, don't you? When you see people that were feuding, and then one of them turns a face, and then eventually 2 months later they team on Raw or Smackdown, and suddenly they like each other again. Well, a couple months ago you were at each other's throats, so where's the logic there? At least they continue this over. They don't like each other. They're never going to like each other. End of. Anyway, obviously the slap leads to a match, because as we come back from commercial, a match is in progress between Daniel Bryan and The Miz. The Miz gets a lot of early offense in on Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan then retaliates by hitting the repetitive run and drop kicks in the corner, but then The Miz responds by hitting his trademark corner clothesline. We then get Daniel Bryan's patented running backflip and clothesline combination to The Miz. The Miz goes for a superplex, but Daniel Bryan fights off and then hits his missile drop kick. We then have the yes kicks from Daniel Bryan, which of course get the yes chants from the crowd. Obviously this whole storyline has been about Daniel Bryan embracing the yes and going back to the yes. This would then lead on to our finish, which then after the yes kicks and the crowd chanting yes, Daniel Bryan teases finally going for the yes chant himself, teasing to acquiesce to the demands of the WWE Universe and go for the yes chants. And just as he starts to point up to go for the yes, the lights go out. The Fiend's music plays and the red lights of doom, yes, those red lights, let's pray, let's all have our fingers crossed right now, they don't appear on Sunday. Let's be honest, they are going to appear on Sunday, because it's stupid. And then in the place of The Miz, who was sitting down in the corner opposite Daniel Bryan, we see the Fiend himself, Bray Wyatt. There was no screeching music this time. You know, usually when the attack happens, they have the screeching music. They've obviously ixnayed the screeching music, which was a shame. I kind of liked the screeching music. Anyway, Bray Wyatt then pulls himself up from the corner to get the response from the crowd. Obviously, some people still hadn't seen him in the corner. How can you miss someone like The Fiend being in the ring? Anyway, Daniel Bryan just basically runs into the mandible claw from The Fiend, who then maniacally laughs to end the segment. No screeching music, though. I mean, I enjoyed the screeching music. because it added a bit of an extra edge to the appearance. People say, oh, it was horrible music. That's the point. It's meant to make you feel uncomfortable. The Fiend is meant to make you feel uncomfortable. That's why in horror movies they have that they have that music that puts you on edge. It continues going to a point to make you jump because it puts you on edge. That screechy music, that was the point of it. It made you feel on edge. It made you feel uncomfortable. Your ears hurt, your eyes sort of squinted, and then it gives you this aura that the Fiend is evil. I mean, if we're going to ixnay anything and cut something, can we cut the red lights and then leave the screechy music, please? The match itself between The Miz and Daniel Bryan, I mean, it wasn't very long at all, so obviously it was nothing really to write home about. But I think it was all about the story of Daniel Bryan getting closer and closer and closer to once again embracing the yes chance, which I'm assuming at some point he is going to do. Obviously, he is becoming, or in the midst of becoming, a babyface once again. So eventually he will get to the yes chance, and that's what he nearly did in the conclusion of this match. And, you know, it furthers the feud with Wyatt heading into Survivor Series. But moving slightly forward onto Survivor Series, with Bray Wyatt coming out on top so far in all of the appearances they've had on Smackdown, Daniel Bryan and Bray Wyatt, I don't expect to see any change at Survivor Series. So while Daniel Bryan may turn babyface and embrace the yes chance, he won't be embracing the WWE Universal Championship at the end of Survivor Series. Next up, we have Shayna Baszler, the NXT Women's Champion, come out. She says that Bayley just isn't getting the message. She then says she's calling Bayley out. But out of nowhere, the SmackDown Women's Champion herself appears and attacks Shayna Baszler from behind, similar to how Shayna has in the previous weeks on SmackDown. Both women then brawl in the ring, but Bayley retreats to the outside, trying to escape through the crowd. But Shayna doesn't let her get too far as she locks in the Kirifuda clutch. Bayley then throws Shayna into the barricade and then the steel steps, and then powders up the ramp away from the Queen of Spades. This had loud Becky chants from the crowd, but unfortunately the Raw Women's Champion herself was not appearing tonight after her appearance on NXT midweek. Bayley then really I thought, sold being afraid of Shayna Baszler. Baszler then had this sort of angry, intimidating look of being a legit badass. Because I mean, you think about it, whenever these people do transition across, whether they're MMA stars like Shayna Baszler or Ronda Rousey, or even someone like Tyson Fury or Brock Lesnar, let's be honest, if this was a shoot, I know obviously there are some very, very, very tough people that become WWE superstars, but no woman on the women's roster is beating Shayna Baszler in the shoot fight. It's just not happening. So you might as well play to the strengths of the Shayna Baszler character if you're going to promote her well, which they did in this segment. It was short, it was sweet, but it really got over that Shayna is this legit badass, and that even if she is attacked from Bayley, and Bayley put over her accomplishments in the evening, she's the only woman in WWE who's a Grand Slam champion. Think of that. She's the only person who's won all those different championships in WWE, and she still can't get the better of the badass from NXT, the NXT Women's Champion Shayna Baszler. Now, speaking of Shayna, she is my dark horse to win this one on Sunday. I'm also predicting a victory for Team Baszler at NXT TakeOver War Games, so I think this is going to be a very, very good weekend for the Queen of Spades. Right, on to your main event of the evening, a 6-man tag team match. Mustafa Ali, Shorty G. Is the G, right, this is a bit of a side point, but is the G for god-awful gimmick? I mean, how the fuck is this even a thing? I mean, it's such good shit, pal. I mean, it's fucking awful. I mean, oh my god, it's so bad. Anyway, and his partner, Roman Reigns, who probably got the biggest reaction of the night. I mean, criticise him all you want, Roman Reigns, but he gets a reaction. It's just a shame that you think about the career retrospective of Roman Reigns so far, and it's just a shame of the creative he's constantly given to get him over, pal. It's just god-awful, the creative he's given. I mean, as a performer, you think about it, Reigns' quality can't be faulted at all. He certainly handled being the guy much better than Seth Rollins has anyway. But on to the action in the ring. They face off against King Corbin, Robert Roode and Dolph Ziggler. King Corbin was carried to the ring, similar to the Macho King himself, Randy Savage. Reigns hits a drive-by on King Corbin. Reigns fights off Ziggler and Roode in the ring, hitting a Samoan drop to the Glorious One himself. Chad Gable then hits a nice Northern Light suplex on Ziggler. Yes, I'm calling him Chad Gable because that's his name. His other name is seriously fucking dumb. Then King Corbin and Robert Roode throw Chad Gable from the apron onto the announce table, crushing the announce monitors. I thought this was a really terrific and inventive spot. I really enjoyed that one. You didn't see it coming. It's a lot of distance, you think, from the ring apron to the announce table. So it's a terrific spot. He did get back into the match slightly towards the end, but it looked really nasty, and it got a great reaction from the crowd. Definitely added some extra heat that was needed to this one. And then this sums up the Shorty G situation. It really does. During the replay, Corey Graves accidentally called Shorty G Gable, and then he had to correct himself. And he went, Gable, oh, no, sorry, Shorty G. I mean, so that says it all, doesn't it? I mean, obviously, the directive has been now, it's Shorty G or nothing else. Well, guess what? I pick nothing else. If that's the ultimatum, Shorty G or nothing else, we'll have nothing else, please. Because it's a stupid fucking name. And who on earth would pick that name? Definitely not someone you want to cheer. Only an idiot would choose that name. Apparently an idiot in his 70s, more specifically. Anyway, Mustafa Ali gets a hot tag. It's a nice springboard tornado DDT onto King Corbin. We get chants of Ali from the Chicago hometown crowd of Mustafa Ali. Keep that thought in mind. Hometown crowd. Think hometown crowd and WWE and what you get. A little spoiler for the finish there. Robert Roode, it's a double R spine buster to Chad Gable on the outside. And then we go into our finish. Of course, I gave you a little hint there. Mustafa Ali is from Chicago. So what happens? He gets hit with a deep six and Baron Corbin gets the victory. Because it's WWE law, isn't it? If you're in your hometown, you have to get pinned and lose in general. Because apparently homecomings are for losers in WWE. I mean, you eye roll. You really do. Because the annoying thing is, people have brought up, why do you always lose in your hometown? Why do you always lose in your hometown? To people when they do podcasts or they do interviews and stuff like that. And then you get such a bullshit answer. Well, there's no prejudice against anyone in their hometown. Never. It's not factored in. And the response that I hate is the response when they go, WWE is $1 billion company. Do you think they would really waste TV time by making someone lose in their own hometown? Yes, we do. Because you do. I mean, you can't you can't say that they don't, because they do. Ugh. Just typical WWE, whatever. Post-match, King Corbin goes to use his scepter on Mustafa Ali, but Roman Reigns prevents it, hitting the spear. So he's standing tall in the middle of the ring, which then leads the music of Seth Rollins to play, which brings out Rollins in Team Raw. Team Raw includes the members of the Raw roster that include the Viking Raiders, the Street Profits, Ricochet, Hawkins and Ryder. You're in trouble. Hawkins and Ryder are here. The OC, Drew McIntyre, and some other Raw superstars. We then have Rollins and Reigns facing off in the middle of the ring to loud CM Punk chants. Yes, Seth Rollins, why would you taunt CM Punk the week you're in Chicago for 4 days, you idiot? Don't think that one through, did you? And then this was really petty. Really, really petty. Unless Seth Rollins has just gone out on a limb and done this himself, of calling out CM Punk several times on Twitter, or has WWE sort of gone, hey, try and call him out, get him back in, make him get the bug so you can face off at WrestleMania. Well, regardless of if they have or they haven't, it's caused a loud CM Punk chant. So what do they do to respond to that CM Punk chant? Do they let it play out, maybe cause some more stir, more controversy, try and get Punk back in the ring? No, they lowered the audience volume because of the CM Punk chants. I mean, it's absolutely hilarious, isn't it? I mean, if it's okay for Fox to hire him, and this wasn't Fox just doing it by themselves, Fox did go to WWE and say, is it okay if we hire Phil, by the way? And they said, sure, hire CM Punk, do what you want, because we need you to draw a number on that show, because the ratings suck for it. But heaven forbid his name be called on the actual WWE programming. Oh my gosh. CM Punk, he's the devil. No. So when he's in the ring with Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins, they call out CM Punk. And it's just, it was stupid. Why lower the audience volume? Dumb. Anyway, I think Seth Rollins is going to have to, I'm not sure if they're going to be able to lower the audience volume this Sunday, because I'm pretty sure Seth Rollins is going to be bombarded with CM Punk chant Sunday. So try and lower that audience, pal. Anyway, Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns begin to brawl in the ring. Team Raw then attacks Mustafa Ali, Gable, and Reigns, which then brings out Braun Strowman and the SmackDown roster to brawl with the Raw roster. This then leads loud chants of NXT here, to which we then see a tank backstage driven by Shawn Michaels, Triple H, and Road Dogg, and the NXT roster shades of 1998's DX invasion of WCW in Norfolk, Virginia. The NXT roster then come out and brawl with the Raw and SmackDown roster. In the ring, we have Keith Lee sort of standing there for a while, not knowing what to do. I think he was waiting for someone to come in. Anyway, someone does come in. Is Montez Ford, and Keith Lee hits a hell of a spirit bomb. I think Montez Ford nearly hit the roof of the Allstate Arena there. It was an awesome spirit bomb. To which we then have Braun Strowman come in the ring and face off with Keith Lee in a match I really, really want to see. Can you imagine the things that Braun Strowman and Keith Lee could pull off in a WWE ring? That feud would be absolute money. Anyway, we then have Raw, NXT, and SmackDown continuing to brawl as we go off the air. Now, I think obviously they ran out of time here because it looked like they wanted to get extra spots in. I doubt when they were going in the production meeting they said they wanted to go off the air with Keith Lee facing off against Braun Strowman in the ring. But they got the money shot, and the money shot was Raw, NXT, and SmackDown brawling. So it achieved what they wanted to do. The main event itself that preceded this all-out brawl was good. It was slightly rushed. And that seems to be the case so far with all of these Fox SmackDown main events. Always just seems to be running out of time. I don't know what goes over every week, but man, time out your shows better, WWE, come on. But it was good. The Chad Gable announce table spot was nice. King Corbin getting the victory over Ali was just an eye roller because it's just so WWE, losing in your hometown. Now, I understand the counter argument to that would be, well, who else is he going to pin on out of Roman Reigns or Chad Gable? Chad Gable, why not? You know, I guess it's between either one. But I mean, Chad Gable was already in the bin with that stupid Shorty G name, so I don't think a pinfall is going to do anything bad to him. But just an eye roller. I wouldn't be surprised if King Corbin costs Team SmackDown the match Sunday, or just costs Roman Reigns, or gives Roman Reigns an out for that match. So watch out for King Corbin in that one. Post-match, the brawl between the three brands was your standard mass brawl, but it always gets a nice reaction from the crowd, and obviously continues this chaos invasion brand storyline. That's been a fun watch, to be honest, leading into Survivor Series. It's been slightly different. Obviously, if NXT wasn't involved in this, it wouldn't have been half as good, as we've seen the Raw versus SmackDown brand supremacy story absolutely done to death on WWE TV and in WWE video games. But it elevates the NXT brand on a par with the main roster, and also elevates the NXT talent to main roster talent. So I'm all for it. Overall thoughts on the show, I thought it was a vast improvement for the last few weeks of SmackDown, that's for sure. Not that that was difficult, because those shows were absolutely brutal to watch. But an improvement is an improvement, and I thought it was a fun watch this week, I really did. However, like with the thoughts about NXT this week, is that because of the addition of the Raw and NXT, interference leading into Survivor Series? Perhaps. I mean, we'll have to see the quality of next week's post-Survivor Series SmackDown when they're only using the SmackDown exclusive talent. The episodes where they've used only SmackDown talent haven't done too well in the ratings, and that's because the quality of television has been below par, to put it nicely. It's not the talent's fault, though. I mean, the talent's there. They could absolutely pull off a great show with that SmackDown exclusive talent. Just the writing is god-awful. I mean, it's such good shit, isn't it? But that's next week. Let's think about this week. This week's episode was fun, and it was a good go-home show to Sunday Survivor Series pay-per-view. Match of the night, I would probably say the 8-man tag match with New Day, Heavy Machinery, and the Undisputed Era was a really, really fun match. That's a good TV match to go out and watch. The crowd was hot for it, and most importantly, it had the right result with the Undisputed Era going over. I mean, how could you have them lose collectively as a unit before Sunday's War Games match? That would just be criminal, wouldn't it? So I thought that was a match of the show and an overall fun show. But enough about me, forget about me. What did you think of the show? Let us know your thoughts on last night's episodes in the comment section below. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Once we get to that magic number of 1,000 subscribers, we'll be able to do live reviews of every single show and really get you, our great followers, more involved in our reviews. That's our aim on YouTube, is to have this really interactive review style with you, our great followers. So once we get to 1,000, that's exactly what we're going to do. But in the meantime, don't forget you can follow Wrestle News 365 on all of our social media platforms on the screen right now. So Twitter, that's at 365Wrestle. Facebook, that's at WrestleNews365. Instagram, that's at WrestleNews365. Storyfire, what's that handle going to be? You guessed it, at WrestleNews365. Starting next week, we will be uploading exclusive content to our Storyfire channel every Saturday and Sunday. So Wrestle News weekends are going to be on Storyfire, so make sure you subscribe over there to not miss any of the action that you won't be able to find anywhere else. You can also visit our website at WrestleNews365.com. That's at WrestleNews365.com for all the very latest news, reviews, exclusive series, and much, much more. You can also support Wrestle News 365 by purchasing our merchandise. Visit WrestleNews365.com. That's, WN365.com. That's what it stands for. WN365.com. That's WN365.com for all our merch and apparel. If you do purchase an item, be sure to post it on social media so we can share it with all of our followers. We really, really, really appreciate all your support. So thank you very much for watching. That's the end of the video. Thank you for listening, streaming, or however you've come across this video today. We really appreciate it. We'll speak for you again very soon, and enjoy NXT TakeOver War Games tonight. I'm sure we all will. We all will. We all will. We all will.